first time I went snowboarding, I was in 8th grade. A bunch of my friends were going to go up the mountain, so of course I decided to go too. With my rental board and my skateboard helmet, I proceeded to take my first lesson, and I've loved it ever since. But I didn't know the history of it, and judging from my surveys, not many of you knew the history of it either. So I'm going to go over the history so you can know a little bit more about the sport by breaking it up into the 1960s, the 1970s, and 1980s. So since the 1920s, people have been trying to stand up on sleds to get down the mountain, but snowboarding really started in the 1960s. A man named Sherman Poppin decided to make a toy for his daughter by hooking two skis together and putting a rope on the front so she could steer better. He called this the snurfer because he looked at it as the surfboard for the snow. She, of course, told all of her friends about it, and they all wanted snurfers too. Therefore, the snurfer was made. When it began selling, it sold 500,000 in 1966. Competitions started being held, and it just took off. There was next a man named Dmitry Milovich who decided to slide on a cafeteria tray in college. He, of course, decided he liked this too, and so he started making snowboards in 1969, although success came later in the 1970s. So now that we've looked when snowboarding actually kind of started, we're going to look more at the 1970s when it really took off. So our same friend, Dmitry Milovich, invented the winter stick in 1972, which looks a lot like the snowboards today, but it's wider at the front and it comes more to a point. However, he left the snowboarding business in 1980 later. Jake Burton, which is a name that we might call familiar, decided that he loved snurfers and competed in many competitions, so his goal after graduating college was to build snurfers. So after graduating from New York University in 1977, he moved to Vermont just for this purpose. He started making the first boards out of laminate hardwood, and he won many surfer competitions with the very first bindings because he could steer better, and of course, since everyone wanted to know how to win, that was how it became popular. However, the snurfer stopped being produced in 1979. Next, Tom Sims, who's also a big name in snowboarding today, was obsessed. He built his own snowboard in junior high school with a piece of wood, carpet on top, and aluminum foil underneath. This obviously didn't work, but he decided to make actual snowboards in 1977 with the help of a friend, Chuck Barfoot. He called this the Flying Yellow Banana, which was a skateboard for snow. So now that we've looked at the 1970s when it really took off, the 1980s was when it absolutely exploded and started becoming popular. So the first ski technology for snowboards was made in 1980 by Burton. Also in 1980, Sims signed a skate and snowboarding deal with Vision Sports. In 1982, the first national snowboard race was held in Suicide 6 near Woodstock, Vermont. In 1985, only 39 out of 600 ski resorts hosted snowboarding. The first snowboarding magazines came out, The Snowboarder, Absolutely Radical, which later changed its name to International Snowboarding Magazine. And in 1986, a Frenchman named Regis Rollins starred in a snowboarding film which caught a lot of the European attention and made it popular there today. So today, snowboarding became an Olympic sport in 1998, which was obviously a big part of its success. Now today, 97% of all ski areas host snowboarding in America and Europe. Every year, 5 to 6 million snowboarders go down the mountain, and the number is steadily increasing. So after speaking on the history of snowboards by breaking it up by decade, the 1960s, the 1970s, and the 1980s, hopefully you know a little more about the history of the sport, and I'm going to end with a quotation by Pearl S. Buck. If you want to understand today, you have to search yesterday.